18, by 18, my parents are like, all right, you've got a problem. Like, and when they said that, I knew they were right. So they said, we want to help you though. Like, we know you have a problem and we love you and we want to help you. And so they sent me to rehab. Well, they offered. They weren't going to like make me, but I said yes because I was like, I'm dying and I don't know how to live. And this, like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it past 18. And if I don't figure something out. So I went to rehab for 35 days.
Okay. Where was this and what was it like?
It was out in the middle of the nowhere desert. It was at the time it was the only facility in the US that was acknowledging pornography as an addiction. This was back in like 2008. So it was like, a lot of places still were like, well, it's a problem, or like, yeah, it's a guy thing. But this was the only place I was like, no. Like, there's stuff going on in the brain here that's like very much addiction. And so they recognize that. So I went there for the pornography addiction, but also for chemical dependency issues, abusing drugs and that sort of thing. It was a great experience. When I got there, though, it was just like, I didn't know what to expect. And it really was nice to have like everything stripped away. Like, they wouldn't even let you have coffee or sugar. Like, they took everything. No caffeine, no sugar. Like, if you wanted a soda, it had to be a diet caffeine-free Coke. Okay. And because they didn't want you to cross addict. I mean, they made their ketchup from scratch. That's how serious they were about no sugar. Right. And you should have seen us addicts, man. We were all just fiending for like sugar. Like, well, we would sit around and talk about Snickers bars. I mean, we were just like anything, right? Caffeine or a Coke or something.
How did people react differently to coming off of those drugs, including sugar and coffee? Did they react differently? Was there a similarity to it all?
It was interesting because I felt like it was harder because of that. Like, all of us who work, and some people were some people were going through some serious withdrawal. I mean, coming off of hard stuff. And
are they isolated?
Yeah. So if you're detoxing from something heavy, they kind of put you're in this this room that's attached to like where the nurses all hang out. And so, my first day there, I see a tissue box just fly out of one of the rooms, and this chick's coming off of meth, and she's pissed. And, later on, she apologized to all the nurses when she kind of like came to her senses, but it was like, you spent the first few days there so they can make sure like you're not going to die and you're okay. And then once you got off of that, then you like ended up like in a room further off. But they had all sorts of things there to really help. They had like you can ride a horse, or you can go swim laps in the pool, or there's like acupuncture. They had all this stuff, and all that stuff was great. But what was better was like the therapy, the group therapy, the very intense work you were doing to focus on like your addiction and what was going on. The problem with that, at least in my case, was a lot of times they want to know what your trigger was. Like, if we could just figure out what your triggers are, then you can avoid your thing. Okay. Whatever your addiction is. And so I sat down, and it's like, all right. Like, well, what triggers me? Like, well, okay, when my mom says this, that triggers me. Okay, well, when she says that triggers me. Okay, well, when the weather's nice, like I get pissed, or like when the weather's bad, I get pissed, or when the weather's like I quickly realized like literally everything. Like, air is my trigger. Like, being alive makes me want to do these things. Just breathing air. And I was like, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm screwed if just being alive drives me, like I have these compulsions to self-harm or to do these, addictive behaviors. What hope is there for me? Because my triggers list is endless.
And that must have just driven you deeper into that pit of isolation, right? Like, if other people have this nice little puzzle piece, I don't. There's something deeply wrong with me at my core.
Like, what the heck is wrong with me? Because everyone else is saying, they're like, oh, well, this is my trigger and this is my trigger. And those are the things that, and I'm like, what? Like, that's it? Those are the only things? Like, I mean, like, I trigger myself. Like, me being who I am is enough to get me to say, like, let's get messed up. Let's do some drugs. Let's drink till we can't think anymore. And so that was hard. That was hard realizing that. But I think it was a good thing to realize early on. But it was a hard thing to realize early on. Because now what's the solution? And so in my mind, I'm like, well, there's no saving me. So I get out of rehab, and
was there any kind of help there? Did you feel like something was resolved? Did you have any hope for the future?
Yes and no. The big help was I was introduced to the 12-step program there. You go to 12-step meetings if you have problems with alcohol or drugs. Some people were there for other unrelated things. But if you have those, you go to 12-step meetings. And that was huge because that would one day, spoiler alert, one day save my life. All right. We'll get to that. But we were in a group therapy once, and they put you in your groups based on like what you're there for. Mm-hmm. All right. So all the alcoholics are with the alcoholics, and all the druggies are with the druggies, and I was with the sex addicts. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I'm 18. I was there primarily for porn. All right. But a lot of the people in the sex addict group were like there for like infidelity and that sort of thing too. So it was kind of a mixed group. And one of the times you share like your first step, you basically go through like this whole, like, this is everything I've ever done. Like, this is how my addiction has destroyed my life. And I remember I shared a lot of the stuff that had been going on with me. And a guy in the group therapy said, I would never let any of my children go near you. And he said that like right after I opened up and I said, here's all my wounds. Here's all my baggage. Here's the ways that sex addiction has ruined my life. And he said that. And
Who is this? Is this another?
He was just another guy in the group.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
And it was just like, I left the group and I remember like I'm in the desert, right? And I see the cactus and I'm like, man, I just want to jump in that cactus. You know, like that's where I belong, like this.
Because that was your deepest fear, that I can't let people close because if they do,
so
they'll
I finally
hate me.
opened up because I'm like, this is rehab. This is a safe place. This is like where I'm supposed to like get better. And it was like
poison,
a dagger in the wound. And I was like, and, you know, kind of shame on the group moderator, the therapist who was there. She should have maybe intervened and told him something. And I think eventually because I pulled her aside at some point and I was like, hey, that really hurt. Like, I was bearing my soul. And that man said that to me. And he was he was like twice my age, you know, and I'm 18. Like, I still feel like a kid, you know, and so for a grown man, that like, it was very intimidating. And so was rehab helpful? Yes. Was it hurtful too? Yes. And so then I get out of that and I'm like, all right, I got to figure this stuff out because like, I don't know that I'm going to get the help that I need and I don't know where it's going to come from, but I got to keep trying. And
were your parents hopeful?
I think so. I mean, they spent a lot of money on rehab. Yeah. It was like, and this was back in 2008. So like 2008 money, it was like 45 grand.
Wow.
For me to go for 35 days.
Wow.
So, and their insurance wouldn't cover it because they're like, this is not an actual condition or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think they were hopeful, but I was a little more skeptical because I kind of knew I knew the insanity of my own mind. And it just felt like, man, because I could see other people in therapy and like things were working for them. Things were clicking. They were like, we had trauma week where you go through like all your trauma and like people were having these massive breakthroughs. They were processing like this childhood trauma and stuff. And I'm sitting there like, wasn't my trauma, you know, not like, and it was hard. It was hard for me to figure out. So already I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know where I'm supposed to head, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best. Because again, I didn't want to die, but the suicidal ideation kept coming up because it seemed like the best option. If the therapist couldn't save me, if the $45,000 rehab couldn't save me, if my parents couldn't save me, if pulling out of public school couldn't save, like if all these things I tried to like, again, grasp at the sand here, like if none of that worked, maybe it would just be easier to just not be alive. And so I fought that for a very long time. And
I want to tell you about a course that I have created for men to overcome pornography. It is called strive21.com/Matt. You go there right now, or if you text STRIVE to 66866, we'll send you the link. It's 100% free. And it's a course I've created to help men, to give them the tools to overcome pornography. Usually men know that porn is wrong. They don't need me or you to convince them that it's wrong. What they need is a battle plan to get out. And so I've distilled all that I've learned over the last 15 or so years as I've been talking and writing on this topic into this one course. Think of it as if you and I could have a coffee over the next 21 days and I would kind of guide you along this journey. That's basically what this is. It's incredibly well produced. We had a whole camera crew come and film this. And I think it'll be a real help to you. And it's also not an isolated course that you go through on your own, because literally tens of thousands of men have now gone through this course. And as you go through the different videos, there's comments from men all around the world encouraging each other, offering to be each other's accountability partners and things like that. Strive21, that's strive21.com/Matt, or as I say, text Strive to 66866 to get started today. You won't regret it.